Okay, so in this series, we're going to talk about how to achieve a specific sound. This was actually a suggestion, and in this, we're going to explore major and the beginning sequence actually uses the same techniques we're going to talk about to kind of achieve either a serene, mellow, or neutral sound. The opening sequence, that whole section sounded very neutral. And there's many reasons why you'd want to sound neutral. You might be a film composer for once, and you don't want something over the top. You don't want something scary. You don't want something mysterious. You want something neutral or even serene, okay? And you can achieve this even with the major scale. There's not one scale fits everything, so we're going to start with major. So I'm just going to start something with the concepts we're going to talk about. Just randomly jamming. Let's just stop here. Okay. What exactly am I doing different than normal major? If you stick like voice to that or something, D major, like just a lone voice or something, it might even sound kind of ethereal. Okay. I'm not so third-based thinking as something like this, which makes major sound very upbeat and. This is because it's mostly third-based triadic music, okay? Now again, this is why every scale has a lot of feels, and that's why there's not one fits all. You could use major just simply for nursery rhymes, so or big noble themes, but the way I'm thinking is more of in a pan-diatonic kind of way. So we're going to look at the chords here. Pan-diatonic, in its most basic definition means anything goes. So in the scale, so most music is third bass. Well, let's just simply use an add chord, add 2, add 9, whatever you prefer. A little bit different sound than that noble kind of noble major or nursery rhyme kind of major. You know, a little bit different sound already just by doing that add 9. You can do the add 9 major 7th. Even though it's third based, it's still kind of serene sounding and changes. Copland's Appalachian Spring makes use of that quite a lot. You could do something like this. I'm just going to make these up on the spot because I just want to show you the chord types you can mess around with. Sus chords, super important to like pan-diatonic kind of music and just plain old sounding mellow. You hear people like John Williams doing stuff like all the time. Okay, it starts to sound very serene and mellow. Aside from the sus2, you have the sus4. There's both examples, both sus chords. You could use the same kind of melodic approach too. You don't have to land on a chord tone either when you're doing your melodies, by the way. In pan-diatonic music, anything goes. You know, a sus2 major 7th kind of sound. Okay, I've been using this a lot. You notice that's just kind of an A major shape over that D note, and you could do it in any inversion. So just take note that there's no rules for this. You could actually do this shape kind of like this. Let's do it like this, and then you could just do it like this. Okay. That part of pan-diatonic thinking is that anything goes within the scale. Okay, so you could do stuff like that. For instance, you could take a D major 7th, put the 7th as the lowest note, and don't play a 3rd, okay? You could do stuff like that, so, making it. Now, we could actually take all these concepts we're learning right here and switch them to different roots and chords. So we could do that quintal kind of shape on that G. which is talked about late a little bit further on. So I just kind of went to it. So we take that sus4 major seventh. You could invert. You could use any inversion, okay? And speaking of which, we could use the major triad with the add 4. I forgot to list that in there. So just simply adding a 4. So let's use both those chords we talked about. Switch roots. Switch roots again, using the same kind of techniques that we've talked about. So nothing's really overly third bass. That's why we're getting a completely different sound. Chordal chords. That's just literally fourth stacks, and you can stick the D over that, and it's literally just a sus2 at that point when you put the D over it. But when you start inverting these things, you get stuff like sus2, chordal, quintal. They're usually pretty much the same set of notes. See, in a different arrangement, we get quintal. So you can switch in between the chordal and quintal, and it's still the same set of notes. And actually, you could start a piece of music like that. Let's just pretend we're starting a piece of music. Chordal, quintal, chordal, quintal. In fact, you can even end a piece of music like that with no third at all. Just chordal, quintal over the D. So, as a pedal point. So also, I just want to point out that parallelism, like with seventh chords, actually produces a very kind of mellow kind of sound. Mellow, neutral. Okay, that wasn't parallel, but doing it in parallel ways. You could do it in try any voicing, in fact, when you're doing these. Okay. And you could actually intermix this kind of parallelism with seventh chords and the kind of chords we talked about earlier, sus chords and all that. Let's do that right there. Change up. So let's go ahead and just jam on this concept now of all these things, and you can see how it sounds very serene and mellow. So when it comes to pandiatonic thinking, don't be afraid of anything. Just those two notes together right there, or chords like that. Any inversion, any sort of parallelism. Don't be afraid of it. Use whatever your ear likes. I mean, the whole point is to try to get out of that major sound where it's either sounds very majestic or happy or even childlike. There's not one scale fits everything. So if you literally took some of these concepts and kind of had like a sus kind of backing and just little monophonic choir line like sopranos or something, it would probably sound very serene and almost ethereal, even with the major scale. So keep that in mind.